Well, hello, 365ers. Can you believe that today marks 5 weeks into our year-long journey with the Word? We have already finished 2 books of the Bible. Can you believe it? Only 64 to go. Well, some of them are short. Exodus, the second book of the Bible, usually. We pick up where Genesis left off. Egypt. Only now it's centuries later and there's a new king, and this one is not as pro-Hebrew as the one Joseph knew. He sees this rapidly growing minority and he gets scared. So he tries forced labor, thinking that will keep the population down. They grow. He recruits midwives to get rid of the baby boys, and they outwit him. So finally he orders everybody to kill all the baby Hebrew boys. Can you imagine a leader in our country giving an order like that? Or even more, can you imagine a whole population going along with it? It's a picture of how broken this Egyptian nation was, isn't it? First, going along as this entire people group is pushed into forced labor, and then this. It's a picture that's helpful to keep in mind as we go through these terrible plagues that happen to them later in the book. So, God spares Moses, thanks to his mom and his sister and an Egyptian princess. Ironic, right? And we fast forward to grown-up Moses. Now, grown-up Moses didn't have people like Martin Luther King Jr. to look up to. When he was confronted with the mistreatment and oppression of the Hebrews, he lashed out. So now he's a fugitive, gets married, and tends sheep for 40 years. 40 years. Literally counting sheep. I mean, is anybody surprised that when something as exciting as a burning bush pops up, he goes over to check it out? And so God calls Moses, and the conversation basically goes, Moses, yes? I have seen how my people have been mistreated by the Egyptians. You know, just the Egyptians, the most powerful empire, the grandest army, the most proficient warriors, those guys. And I have heard my people's cries. So to set them free, I am sending... And so you're thinking, what? An army? I am sending you. He sends Moses, an 80-year-old fugitive turned shepherd. And Moses goes to Egypt, but it's God who directs everything moving forward. Every plague, every choice Pharaoh thinks he makes, all of it plays out to bring judgment on the Egyptians, and to give the Hebrews a glimpse of this God who will call them his chosen people. I love this story. Each plague is bigger, wilder. Blood, frogs, gnats, flies. Before long, hail is crashing down and darkness is closing in. And there's this terrible moment when the Egyptians realize that their gods, their religion, their magic, with everything they know, they are powerless to stop what God is doing. They are powerless to control God. And it all reaches its climax today. If you haven't done today's reading, go do it now. If you're just joining us, it's Exodus 10 through 12. Seriously, go read it, pause me, then come back. Done? Good. The Passover, the death of the firstborn. Pharaoh doesn't just let them go, he basically kicks them out. They are free. 430 years in Egypt. Years of slavery, abuse, mistreatment. Now what? The Israelites are called to put their trust in this God. This powerful, untamable God who goes by, I am. I wonder what the plagues were like for the Hebrews. What do you think it was like to leave Egypt totally dependent on God? God has shown them his power over man, over false gods, over nature. But does that make following him easier? I'll be honest, I like to be in control. I like to be prepared, to be self-sufficient. I don't really like asking for help. I don't like depending on someone else. Trust. Trust isn't easy. It wasn't easy for the Hebrews either. As you read in the coming days, you will see all kinds of examples of this. Panic at the Red Sea, grumbling about water, not trusting God to provide food enough one day at a time. God is about to take the Hebrews through a master class on trusting Him, and they will fail over and over, turning to grumbling, to despair, to making their own idol something they can control. Do you do that? Do you put your faith in yourself above all? In the things you think, in the preparations you make, your hard work, your studying, your resources? If you do that, I encourage you to spend some time this week in prayer, asking God to show you some ways that you can move away from, well, idolatry. You know, putting your faith in anything other than God, and toward trusting the living God. Trusting I am. Do you struggle with giving up control? With asking others for help? With trusting God? Let's talk about that in the comments below. I'm so glad to be on this journey with all of you. Grace and peace.